Okay, let's just dive right in. We are all, and I mean every single one of us, living inside of a story. It's a narrative that explains the world to us. And most of the time, we don't even realize it's there. But this underlying story, it shapes every single conclusion we draw, every decision we make. So today, we're going to dig into how the story you believe in literally changes what you see.
So, imagine this scene with me. It's pulled right from our source material. We're in an ancient city. The Apostle Paul is speaking, and in the crowd, there's a man who has never been able to walk. I mean, from birth. And then, in an instant, Paul heals him. The man just leaps to his feet. Now, this isn't some back alley trick. It's a massive, public, undeniable event. The whole city sees it happen.
And right here, this is where it gets really interesting. Everybody saw the exact same miracle, right? But they did not reach the same conclusion. The crowd, they're running on the software of their Greek mythology stories, so they immediately think, oh, it's Zeus and Hermes. But Paul stops them, he corrects them, and he points to a completely different story, one about a single, living creator God. Same event, two wildly different interpretations. Why? All because of the narrative they started with.
Well, that's a perfect lead-in to a story that has gained a lot of traction today. A narrative you've probably heard called the prosperity gospel, or name it, claim it. It's another just powerful example of how a specific story can completely reinterpret everything. And get this, our source material describes it just like this, drawing a direct line to that whole popular idea of the law of attraction, where your thoughts and your words are supposed to magically attract positive things from the universe.
So what's the deal here? Well, at its core, this story totally reframes the relationship with God into, well, a system for personal gain. Faith becomes a tool, a force that you can use to unlock health and wealth. And God, he's kind of positioned as this cosmic vending machine whose whole purpose is just to deliver on your goals.
This comparison shows a really key technique in this whole narrative. The source points out that it often takes biblical words, like confession, and just completely redefines them. What used to be about agreeing with God and acknowledging reality suddenly becomes a kind of magic formula, blab it and grab it, as the speaker puts it, to get what you want.
Okay, so if that's one story, what's the other side of the coin? What's the alternative that's presented in the source? Well, to understand it, the speaker says we have to go back, way, way back, to the very beginning of the Bible's grand narrative.
You see, this narrative, it doesn't present itself as a collection of rules, but as a huge, sweeping story with a really clear plot. It kicks off with a very good creation, a world just working in perfect harmony. Then, bam, a central conflict is introduced. A fracture, a break in the relationship between humanity and God that just injects brokenness into everything. And the entire rest of the Bible? That's the dramatic, centuries-long resolution to that conflict. So what was our job supposed to be? According to the source, this was kind of the original job description. Humanity was created to image God, to be his representatives here on earth, managing and caring for creation, all while living in this direct relationship with him. You see, it wasn't about getting things from God, but about partnering with him in his work. And you've really got to get this part, because without understanding this beginning, the rest of the narrative, it just doesn't fully make sense. The conflict, the solution, the whole plot, it all hinges on this original purpose and the story of how it was broken and how it's being put back together.
Okay, so if you're living inside this huge biblical narrative, what does that actually look like day to day? What's the tangible result or, the fruit of this kind of faith?
The source tackles this question head on, and it doesn't look at what someone says they believe, but at what their life actually produces. The speaker points to this really powerful metaphor that Jesus used to explain it.
The idea is, it's simple, but it's so profound. A good tree doesn't try to produce good fruit. It just does it, naturally, because of what it is on the inside. So what that suggests is that a genuine inner change will inevitably and naturally produce a real result on the outside. It's the proof that the story has actually taken root. To make this super clear, the speaker tells this hilarious story about his uncle taping potatoes to a tree as a joke. And it's just the perfect image, isn't it? That's what mere morality can be, just taping good deeds onto an unchanged person. It's all artificial. The source argues that genuine faith is about the tree itself being changed, and the good works, they're just the natural fruit that grows from that new internal reality. And this is where the values of this story just completely flip the script.
This slide compares the world's definition of a successful life with the characteristics Jesus talks about in the Beatitudes, and they are totally upside down. I mean, what the world sees as weakness, being meek, mourning, being poor in spirit, this narrative reframes that as actual success.
So at the end of the day, success in this story is completely redefined. It's not about acquiring more possessions or status, but about reflecting a different kind of character, one that mirrors a kingdom with a totally different set of values.
So here's the thing. As we've seen, everyone is living inside a story. You might have consciously chosen yours, or maybe you just sort of absorbed it from the culture around you. But either way, it's there, and it's shaping how you see absolutely everything. And the speaker suggests that any coherent story, any worldview that even tries to make sense of life, has to provide answers to 3 non-negotiable questions. These are like the building blocks of any narrative that we live by.
Just think about it for a second. First, origins. How did all of this get here? Then, identity and purpose. Why are we here, and what are we even supposed to be doing? And finally, destiny. What happens in the end? Your answers to these 3 questions, whether you've thought about them consciously or not, they reveal the story you're living in right now.
And that's really the final thought to leave you with. When you look at the world, with all of its incredible beauty and all of its heartbreaking brokenness, when you look at your own life and your own experiences, which narrative, which story has the greatest power to explain it all? Which one truly makes sense of it all?